Hi, I'm Lucia Gonzalez, and I'm reporting to you live from Isla Chiloé in Chile on News Channel 31. Just yesterday, on May 22nd, 1960, there was a huge tsunami that struck both Chile and Hilo, Hawaii. In case you don't know, tsunamis are huge deep-sea waves that are formed by a big disturbance in the sea. Lots of water is displaced, which causes huge waves when they hit shallow water on shore. A tsunami is usually formed by an earthquake in the ocean or volcanic eruption under the sea. In this case, the tsunami was caused by an earthquake just off the coast of Chile. This earthquake had a 9.5 magnitude and is the largest earthquake ever recorded. It's absolutely amazing. Before we move on, let's learn more about the science of earthquakes that cause tsunamis like this one. Earthquakes happen because of plate tectonics. The Earth is separated by cracks in the lithosphere called plates. Most earthquakes occur along plate boundaries, which are the edges of plates. There are three types of plate boundaries, which is where an earthquake occurs. Divergent, also called spreading, transform, which is also called sliding, and the last one is convergent, which is also called colliding. Earthquakes occur on faults which are on or near plate boundaries. Earthquakes happen when the plates are moving, and weirdly, the plates in the lithosphere are always moving very, very, very slowly on the asthenosphere, which is the molten layer beneath the lithosphere. Plates move because of convection currents that occur in the mantle. The process of convection is like this. Inside the Earth, it is really hot, so the heat causes the convection current to start in the mantle. Density makes the convection current move the way it does. Inside the mantle, the rock is hot and less dense, so it rises. Since the rock is rising, it gets farther away from the heat source, which is the core, and the core is the center of the Earth, so the rock becomes cooler. The colder rock is more dense, so the rock starts to sink. As it sinks, it gets closer to the heat source, which is the core, and begins to get hotter. The now hotter rock rises, starting the whole convection process over again. This cycle of convection in the mantle continues non-stop. This earthquake in Chile occurred at a convergent plate boundary, also called a colliding boundary. There are two main types of colliding boundaries. One kind involves subduction. In subduction, there are two things that can happen. The first thing that happens is two oceanic plates can collide, and the denser oceanic plate will subduct under the other. Or a continental plate and an oceanic plate will collide, which is what happened with this earthquake. Because the oceanic plate is denser than the continental plate, the oceanic plate will subduct under the continental plate. 2. The other main type of colliding plate boundary that does not involve the process of subduction, unlike the other kind. Instead, when two continental plates collide, both have about the same amount of density. Therefore, neither plate subducts. So, the plates push at each other and form a mountain range instead of an earthquake. But enough about mountains. Let's get back to the amazing stuff, earthquakes that cause tsunamis. As we know, this specific earthquake was at a convergent colliding plate boundary. The type of convergent boundary involves subduction. The fault, a place where an earthquake occurs, was at a subduction zone between the Nazca Oceanic Plate and the South American Plate. In other words, it was an oceanic and a continental plate that collided. They collided about 100 miles off the coast of Chile. Therefore, the oceanic plate subducted under the continental, which was the South American Plate. This earthquake occurred here because off the coast of Chile is part of what is called the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire has a lot of earthquake activity. In fact, this Ring of Fire area has the most earthquakes that cause tsunamis in the whole world. At this spot, a really big tsunami occurs every 30 years. Crazy, huh? I think you now know a lot about the science of earthquakes that cause tsunamis. Now, let's learn more about what specifically happened in Chile. On May 21st, 50 earthquakes started at 6:02 a.m., and the earthquake stopped happening on May 22nd at 3:11 p.m. On May 22nd, two extremely large earthquakes with a rating of 8.9 and 9.5 occurred. 200 miles of seafloor and coast got moved 3.3 feet by the earthquake. After the two super large earthquakes on May 22nd, some people, like fishermen in Chile, knew that there would probably be a tsunami. They were 100% correct. They took their families out into the open ocean in their boats.
When you're in the open ocean in a boat, you can't feel the tsunami pass. This is because in the open ocean, the tsunami is super short, but super fast. But when the tsunami approaches shore, the effect is the opposite. When the tsunami is near shore, the tsunami is super tall and super slow. Anyway, going into the open ocean saved many lives. The first wave occurred 10 to 15 minutes after the big 9.5 earthquake on May 22nd. The first wave was 16 feet tall. The tsunami hit the shoreline places and caused a lot of destruction. The epicenter was about 350 miles south of Santiago, off the coast of Isla Chiloé, where the most tsunami damage was.
The most earthquake and tsunami damage was between Concepcion and Isla Chiloé.
After the first wave, many people who had evacuated went back toward the shoreline areas, thinking all the waves and damage were over. This was a very bad idea. This 16-foot wave was only the first wave of the many to follow. About 50 minutes after the first 16-foot wave, another bigger wave struck Chile. The second wave was about 30 feet tall and hit the shore at an amazing speed of 125 miles per hour. Then followed the third wave, which was about 36 feet high and traveled much slower than the second wave had when it hit the shore. The later waves ranged from 20 to 80 feet tall in the southern part of Chile. The exact number of people killed in Chile isn't known because of our bad written records. About 200 people in Isla Chiloé died. The total estimated number of deaths is approximately 2,000. Yikes! About 1,000 of those people died near the epicenter. I'm glad I'm still alive.
Most of the destruction was done to things on and near the coast. For example, many docks and coastal villages were completely destroyed and or damaged. The coast was flooded up to a third of a mile inland. There was a lot of destruction. Parking meters were even bent backwards. It's absolutely crazy and horrible. Many boats were also destroyed in the tsunami. As the boats were destroyed, so were many lives of the people who had been inside them.
Let's interview a survivor, the captain of the Pacifica ship. Take it away, Captain! So, like many other fishermen, I had taken my boat into the open ocean, hoping to be saved. When I saw the tsunami wave, I panicked. It wasn't the first wave because the tsunami was carrying many pieces of buildings with it. The wave was coming toward my boat, but then it suddenly stopped and started to move backwards. In my head, I was thinking, what in the world is going on here? A strange hole, kind of like an abyss, formed, and my ship, the Pacific, fell into the hole. That's when I lost my consciousness. The next thing I knew, I was on the shore about half a mile away. Weird thing that happened that day. Maybe some things were tricks of the mind. My old memory's starting to fade too. Ho ho! Thanks, Lucia! No, thank you, Captain. Interesting story there, sir. Oh no, we are officially out of time for this newscast. Bummer! Thanks for watching News Channel 31. Next up is Lilo, who will tell you more about the same tsunami that also struck Hilo, Hawaii. Over to you, Lilo! Hi, I'm Lilo, and I'm reporting to you live from News Channel 31 in Hilo, Hawaii. As Lucia was saying before, a huge tsunami hit Hilo, Hawaii after doing lots of damage to Chile. The distance the tsunami traveled between Chile and Hilo is a tremendous 6,600 miles. When a tsunami travels across the ocean, it's called a transoceanic tsunami instead of a local tsunami, which only affects the coast near its origin. Transoceanic tsunamis are not as common as local tsunamis, but are usually more horrible and damaging. Anyway, the tsunami hit Hilo really, really hard. The tsunami wasn't going to hit Hilo very hard initially, but then it switched directions heading right toward Hilo in the north side of the big island. The tsunami was supposed to hit Hilo, Hawaii, about 15 hours after the big earthquake occurred in Chile. This prediction was almost exact. Knowing that a tsunami was on its way saved many lives in Hilo. Hawaii had a tsunami warning system, but it had recently been changed. Uh-oh. The old system had 3 sirens, but the new system only had 1 siren that meant evacuate quickly and immediately. People forgot the new system and instead followed the old system. They got ready to go and waited for the second alarm that meant to evacuate. There was no second alarm that night.
Because of this and other reasons, sadly, 61 people still died and about 300 people were quite injured. Part of the deaths and injuries happened because of the whole old system and new warning system malfunction. But another reason why people died and were injured was because people chose not to evacuate when told to. They decided to stay and watch the tsunami, thinking it wouldn't be that big. Only about a third of the population evacuated after hearing the warning that the tsunami was supposed to arrive at midnight. Uh-oh. After the first wave hit, more people evacuated, and about half of the people who lived in Hilo still remained.
The records of the exact wave heights of all the waves that struck Hilo are unclear. We do know that the first and second waves were not the biggest waves, as what happens to many waves in tsunamis. The third crest, another wave part of the tsunami, was 20 feet tall and completely shocked the people.
It ruined the downtown harbor and a business district. The tsunami carried 20 tons of ruined buildings / city work with it. Another wave was about 35 feet tall and flooded 5 blocks. After this huge wave, many people evacuated, but some still remained. About 540 homes and businesses were destroyed altogether. More businesses were destroyed than homes. About 230 homes were destroyed, and 310 businesses were destroyed.
That means that there were more businesses along the coast than homes. As the waves hit the Hilo shore, the average speed was around 30 miles per hour. The cost and damage was very, very expensive and was about $24 million in our current money. Poof! Hi, I'm Elise Kratzer and it is 2013 in May. So I want to tell you a little about how to prepare for a tsunami that could happen. So the first thing is, find out if your home or your work or anywhere near you is in a tsunami-prone area. That means any place where tsunami could happen and reach you. Another thing you should do is measure how far you are above the ground level. And know how close you are to a big body of water that could have a tsunami. Another really important thing is to make an evacuation plan for any place you go to frequently, like home, work, a daycare center, anything like that. And practice the route. The more practice, the more perfect it'll be, and the more stuck into your head it'll be when the tsunami actually occurs. During a tsunami, it's best to get at least 2 miles away from the big body of water and to be at least 100 feet above sea level. Also, if you're a tourist, it's extra special to know this. Back in 1960, when those tsunamis occurred way back then, we're not exactly sure how people recovered, besides the usual spending money to rebuild things. Because of our bad written records, we're not exactly sure what else. Thank you! For more information on preparing for your tsunami, go to www.redcross.org/prepare/disaster/tsunami. Thank you.